everyone, and welcome back to our podcast, Proverbial Perspectives. I'm Yazhini, and I'm joined by Simran today.
Hi guys, today we are talking about something super important, student well-being. We have got some cool proverbs to share and an interview with the student well-being team.
So, Simran, have you heard of the saying, a healthy mind in a healthy body?
Oh yeah, I have. It's such a classic, but it's so true, especially for us students juggling classes, social life and everything else. University life can be intense and keeping our mental health in check is crucial.
That's so true. And speaking of that, it really reminded me of this Chinese proverb that I read, a calm heart sees the world differently. And it really makes me think of the importance of mindfulness and the impact that this can have on the different aspects of our lives and also our performance.
Yes, and as uni students, we spend so much time either here on campus or just doing activities related to our studies. It really matters that we have a healthy mind, body, and soul while we develop ourselves here. Plus, it's comforting to know that you are not alone in your struggles.
Absolutely. And everything is about balance, isn't it? But it's really funny how balance is something difficult to strike as a uni student, balancing academics, social life, and having personal time. But these things are so vital and essential for our mental well being.
Totally, and multiple studies have shown that students who maintain a healthy balance tend to perform better and feel happier.
There's this really interesting proverb that this reminds me of. Tension is who you think you should be, while relaxation is who you are. It really reminds us that it's important to take a step back and breathe.
Indeed, universities often Indeed, universities often offer countless services, peer support groups, and mental health resources. Taking advantage of these can make a huge difference.
So, Simran, I think it's time to roll in the interview we had with the student well-being team, right?
Yes, honestly, talking to them reminded me of this Japanese proverb I read. You know, one kind word can warm 3 winter months. It just fits perfectly. They are all about kindness and community.
With that lovely thought, let's roll in into our interview. Here's what the Student Wellbeing Committee had to share. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today, Chelsea and Lily. So, thank you so much for your time. And why don't we start off by discussing what kind of services are available in the university as far as student mental health and well-being is concerned?
So I'll start by introducing myself. My name is Chelsea Decker. I'm a Wellbeing Project Officer in the Student Health and Wellbeing team. And this is my lovely colleague, Lily.
Hello.
Lily, what do you do?
Oh, I'm a project support officer and I work in student health and wellbeing as well with Chelsea.
Awesome. So just to give a little bit of context to our team and where it sits in this big university, we are obviously student health and wellbeing, and we sit under the umbrella Student Life, which is comprised of a variety of support services designed to support students. There's disability support, international student support, counseling support, student health and well-being, and the accommodation service. So we're joined by fabulous people who genuinely care about students. And in student health and well-being, our job is to provide resources, tools, awareness, and a variety of things that empower students to look after their health and well-being as a uni student.
All right, thank you so much for sharing that with us. Just to clarify, I'm sure a lot of students are wondering the same thing as me. So what is the difference between student health and well-being as compared to counseling services which are available in the university?
That's a really good question. So in the counseling team, students are able to access counseling as a free and confidential service to help them navigate a challenge that they might be experiencing. And that looks like a one-on-one counseling appointment with some of the counselors in the team, and they're amazing. In student health and well-being, we take a step away from the response role that the counselors play and look at more towards health promotion and prevention. So bringing a lot of campaigns and initiatives to the university that address student need and meet the needs of a diverse student group. So really different, and every day is Yeah, a challenge. What do you think, Lily? Anything to
Yeah,
add?
I think in Wellbeing we focus more on group things, so like community-based campaigns where we try and educate all of the students at once, or sessions where 30 people might come and join, or 10 people might come. And yeah, it's a lot of kind of prevention, so it's not critical incidences or anything like that. It's more like, hey, how can we help students to learn healthy behaviours and practice those healthy behaviours and take those forward even after they finish university, just to improve their well-being. Yeah.
And prevention is definitely better than cure.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that all the activities that you do have major impact on student life and well-being. Would you like to share with us some of the activities that you've already conducted and what's in for your future?
Yeah, so maybe I'll tag team this one with Lily and we can talk about some of the project work that we're doing individually. But like we already said, Lily and I work in the student health and well-being team, and we all focus on a few different things. Our amazing manager, Jackie, leads our team and really helps us deliver the objectives and initiatives on the student mental health and well-being strategy for the university. And that's a very holistic, whole of university approach to targeting student well-being from all different pockets of the university, whether it's student support services, teaching and learning, or academia, and everything in between. We fall within all sorts of that strategy by delivering campaigns, projects, programs, and initiatives of all kinds. My role is more targeting wide campaigns at the university, so really huge awareness campaigns around mental health awareness, sexual health, general health promotion, so some niche topics like Lily mentioned, targeting different groups, and a lot in between. There's a lot to explain in that, but yeah, I guess I'm losing my train of thought, but that really sums it up.
I think it can be broken down into two areas. So one is education, which is things like mental health first aid training, which is a 2-day program any student or staff can attend. So Chelsea's one of the trainers, and there's a whole bunch of other trainings as well, which you can find if you go to the Uni of Adelaide Safer Campus Community webpage. So things about how to be an ally, how to be an active bystander if you think you hear something that doesn't really feel right or it's a bit uncomfortable. Yeah. And then aside from the education is all the events and campaigns. Yeah. So we recently had a pelvic pain event, which was on World Menstrual Hygiene Day. And we had some great speakers that came and spoke a lot about menstruation and how to manage pain and what's normal and what's not normal. So that was sort of educational as well. And then we've got so many other amazing events. Like we're looking at the whiteboard in our room. There's a fitness program coming up in September, which is 8 weeks, 14 different free group fitness classes students can join, and then they get a free coffee session afterwards. So we hit that social aspect of wellbeing. Yeah, lots of different things. We're at Purple Day and Are You OK Day, so those different days where it's just a 1-day recognition event that we try to raise awareness about something. Yeah. And
just on the back of that, and we were just talking about this today as well, but a lot of our work is guided by days of observance and recognition. Right. So celebratory days that are either celebrated in Australia nationwide or internationally and recognized on a global scale. And that really helps us shape our calendar of events. But where we try to target this well-being wheel and all the facets of well-being is consistent ad hoc initiatives and programs that can respond to what students are going through at that time. Yeah. So it can be hard to sum up the work we do by simply saying everything, because it is so much and everything in between.
Yeah, but it sounds really holistic in nature and very diverse at the same time. You mentioned about the well-being wheel. Could you please explain to us what that is?
Yeah. Lily, you want to explain it?
Yeah, I love the Wellbeing Wheel. So you can't see it, but it's a visual tool we use to break down wellbeing. Because wellbeing's so vague, I feel like it's really hard to actually understand what it is. And it's so different because there's counselling who does counselling, or disability support who focuses on disability support. And in wellbeing, we kind of do a little bit of all of that, but not super specifically. So the wheel is 8 different sections. Is it 8? Yeah, and it's like the 8 different aspects of well-being, and we recognise they all link together, they're all tied together, you can't isolate them necessarily. There's workplace, intellectual, environmental, financial, cultural, physical, social and emotional. So that's sort of the tool we use to look at the year ahead. How are we going to run different events that address all of these different areas? What are we missing? What should we think about? Yeah.
And I guess just on the back of that, we recognize that all of these things make up a person's well-being, with probably other things we've missed in between that. But how this and one aspect of this impacts a person's ability to function well in their day-to-day life. Obviously, at the University of Adelaide, we focus on uni life, but making it really normal that this can have impact in a very positive or sometimes not so positive way, depending on how things are going for you. But if we're focusing on the work that we do, it's giving students the awareness, education, and ability to know how and when these things are impacting them and what they can do to make it something that allows them to flourish.
Yeah.
And the really cool thing, well, I think it's really cool about this team, is that we're not like jumping down students' throat, like you need to come to these events. It's just like we have all these cool events and things, and if you want to be involved, please come. But you might not, and that's okay. You're not forced to do anything. Some people have great mental health and a great life outside of uni, and they just come to uni and leave. But other people want to be more part of the community and come to these things. So it's all about what works for you, and us just having the offerings and saying like, come and try, see what works for you. And if you want help, we're here. We're always here. Yeah.
That's the perfect way to describe it.
That's really great to hear. And just looking at the wheel itself, like you mentioned, there's so many different aspects to us as individuals, and especially during this time, university, I think all of these have to come together for you to flourish. And it's really nice to see that you are targeting each one of these aspects in various ways, and I'm sure it has great impacts. You mentioned a little bit about mental health first aid training. Is that something you're more interested in give us more details about?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Chelsea might be good.
Yeah, I can talk more about that. So mental health first aid training is a fabulous program that's designed by Mental Health First Aid Australia. And it's actually been a huge win for our area because it used to be a fee for students and staff to join in, and it's actually quite expensive. But in the last couple of years, we've received funding to deliver that free of charge for all students and staff at the university. And I guess this plays a role in that financial well-being aspect. So I know we're talking about mental health first aid, but you'll see that underlie a lot of the work we do. Wherever we can remove cost and remove barrier from someone to accessing something, we absolutely make that a priority. And that's shown to be very effective in the mental health first aid training from an educational standpoint. So it's a 2-day course, and it's for all staff and students. And we've had hundreds of students and staff come out as accredited mental health first aiders. We're joined by, I think, 6 to 8 instructors at the university who always co-deliver those sessions, and it's really effective. And it basically teaches participants the skills and tools to identify when someone is developing a mental health challenge and sometimes an illness, and some of the effective interventions to come in and support them as a mental health first aider. It's very, I don't know, I guess what's the right word? It's designed to be for everyone, so it doesn't matter if you're a mental health professional or you have all of this experience. It's just so that it can be this blanketed approach so that anyone can adopt it and really have those tools to provide a positive impact in the community, which has been amazing. So you can find the registration on the Student Health and Wellbeing website, and we still have a variety, quite a few sessions from now until the end of the year.
Yeah.
But I think we deliver probably a dozen a year, and it's amazing. So we highly recommend and can teach students so much about supporting other people going through mental health challenges, but also supporting themselves.
And do they have to pay to attend these workshops?
No, it's completely free.
Wow, all right.
Have you heard of it before, either of you?
I'm a medical student, so I think I've heard of this before.
Yeah.
It's awesome. And it's obviously hard to make some of those sessions within the course super personalized and realistic, depending on how you might take the information outside your own in your own world and your own life. But it can be so adaptable, and so we try to provide that realism and make people feel like they can be authentic, but also giving them really practical tools around language and support that is effective.
Absolutely, like what you say, it doesn't matter how old you are, what gender you are, you're always going to come across someone who is probably going through something.
Mental health doesn't discriminate.
And if you have even an inch of the tools to help someone out, that's amazing, and that's great that we can get this teaching free of charge in the university itself. So I'm pretty sure that's something students will be definitely interested in.
Yeah.
All right.
But we also have quite a lot of other trainings as well that we feel are extremely valuable for students, particularly in like safer campus community.
Okay, I'll just ask a leading question then.
Okay.
So, thank you so much for sharing about the mental first aid training. Are there any other training services that are available to students here in the uni?
Yeah, there's actually quite a few. So in student health and well-being, we work really closely with the Safer Campus community team to allow students to feel safe on campus, and that looks like many different things, and part of that is a huge education piece. We support the counseling team to promote a few different trainings, particularly around recognizing and responding to sexual assault and sexual harassment, and that is again free of charge for students to participate in, and that's run by the sexual harm specialist counselor at the university, Joe McNamara, and she's amazing. She also runs a session called MATE Bystander, and MATE is an acronym for Motivating Action Towards Empowerment, and it's all about the bystander movement and how students can feel that they can be someone who says something, particularly if you're witnessing something that just isn't quite right, whether someone's behaving inappropriately or says something really inappropriate, you can feel that you have the tools to stick up for that moment. There's also the ally training to be a part of the ally network, but that training essentially is LGBTQIA plus awareness and all about how we can be aware of the diverse gender and sexualities that we are amongst at the university and what the best way is to support them.
Oh, that's really interesting. I think as students, the number one thing we want from our university when we come in here every day is to feel safe. And that's really great to know that there are services out there which can give us the tools to make sure we are being safe at uni and also to make uni a better place for us to be at. You mentioned a little bit about sexual harassment and sexual health itself. Are there any other services in that arena that we have?
So speaking from a well-being lens, we run a fabulous Safe Sex No Regrets program. Students can access free sexual health packs, which include condoms and lubricant across campuses, and that's in a variety of locations. We can give some more information about our website where students can find that. We also have free HIV self-testing kits on campus, and I know this isn't really related to your question, but just another thing that we do that students are able to access for free. And this leads into our next campaign, Sextember, where we're going to be, for the very first time at the university, promoting sexual health awareness and well-being in a campaign form. So it's going to be a really diverse calendar of events and resources that empower students to learn more about sexual health and well-being and what practical things they can do to look after their sexual health. In terms of sexual assault and sexual harassment, that's counseling's specialty and I guess expertise, and to learn more about that area, whether it's prevention or response, that is the best point of contact.
All right, sure.
Yeah, definitely. And the Safer Campus community, which is a whole group in the university, and I think that is the place you go if you want to report anything, whether it's big or small. You can just report on the website and make a complaint or something about it. So that's really important, because I think it's really normal to report about things, even if it's just a one-off or you think it doesn't really matter. Like, it's really good.
Totally. And I guess that's probably what I should have said when we're talking about these things. A Safer Campus community is the one point on the university's website and in general that you report an incident of any kind. So oftentimes talking with students, we get the feedback that it seems really intense and extreme, and sometimes it is. It's not to sugarcoat that, but it can be absolutely anything, and it can be from witnessing something to experiencing something and all of that. So we really encourage people to check out Safer Campus community and know that there's always people on the other end of that who are going to help you find the support you need.
And it can be anonymous, so you could make it anonymous if you were getting harassed somewhere at Ask Adelaide or something, for example. And you just have to give some information about what time it was and, you know, who was there, maybe a description. Doesn't have to be a name, enough to identify them. Then you can do it anonymously.
Wow. So thank you for sharing that with us. Another area of concern that we were interested in exploring is that about international students. You mentioned that international student support is is an own wing on its own in terms of mental health. But what issues do you think international students face in the university, and what do you think we can do to help them out?
It's such a broad question. I worked in the international student support team for quite a while, and we came across so many different challenges that are unique to the international student experience. And I guess, whether we're looking at student health and well-being or within the international student support team, the biggest thing is to normalize the Australian learning experience, and that oftentimes things that a uni student experiences studying at an Australian university will inevitably be different to their home countries.
Yeah.
So in that, there's a lot of stigma reduction and trying to normalize access to certain services such as counseling or engaging with student health and well-being. That is completely okay, and like Lily said, to find really what works for you, and hopefully as part of that experience find something new that they can take on their journey with them. When we're talking about things like making a report for a safer campus community, Lily already mentioned it's completely anonymous and confidential, but sometimes with international students, we've observed that there is a fear of, whether this information gets back to their families back at home or even implicate their visa status. And I guess in everything we do, we really try to myth bust that. There is no way that information is leaked. There will be no implications to your visa or breaches of confidentiality that could get back to your home and home countries. And it's really about fostering that adult learning environment and respecting privacy and building rapport over time, which is ultimately what these services aim to do.
I asked this question, of course, for all the international students out there, but also for Simran and myself, who are international students ourselves. It doesn't matter, no matter how many years you've been in a new country, and how many years you've spent in university, there's always that fear. You feel like there's always a liability. There's always a way that something can harm your stay here. So I think that's definitely one of the challenges. But having an office, a support team within the university itself who can combat these, like you said, myths. They're just that, right?
Yeah.
So it's really, really reassuring.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
And I guess just on the back of that, it's just the fear of the unknown. International students are so resilient and brave, move all the way to a new country to study in an unfamiliar environment. Of course, there's going to be uncertainty within that. And I think sometimes things that students often misunderstand is that you're surrounded by university staff who experience similar things. In the international student support team, I think there's almost 10 countries represented alone, and most of them aren't from Australia themselves. Lily has lived overseas in different countries. I'm originally from America, and Australia isn't my native country either, so people understand and can resonate with students. So I think there should be more awareness around that so students can feel trust in who's supporting them.
And it's so valid, like it is scary. We've both been international students in other places, and I think it is scary because you're like, oh, what if I do this? Is this wrong? Is this going to impact my grades and my visa and my fees and I have to pay? Like, it is scary.
Yeah.
But definitely stuff like reporting something that someone does wrong or standing up for something that's right, there's no way that's going to ever affect your visa. Like, it's so not.
Yeah.
And if your friends say that it is, I think it's important to call that out and say, like,
Yeah.
where are you getting that information? Like, that's not true at all. And we can go and talk to international student support or send an email to whoever or Wellbeing team and ask them. But it's not.
And I know we're talking a lot about international students, but we love this space so much and always try to focus on that international student well-being, particularly because international students want that sense of belonging here as well, just as everyone else. But I got my master's degree at the University of Adelaide as an international student, and I struggled a lot in that transition away from home, and I still struggle with it today. It's never easy, but I sought help from international student support, and they were amazing. Later down the line, when I started working there, a lot of those familiar faces sat really well with me, and I just was validated that they were such genuine people. But if you're an international student struggling, there are people here that can relate to you, and we recommend going to international student support, going to counseling support, or even student care, and seeking that type of assistance if you need it.
Yeah, because you have a right to use those services, and you're
You pay for
entitled
them.
to have access to them. You're paying
You pay
for
a lot
them,
of
so
money
you should
to
be
use them.
out there every day going to them if you need to.
All right. You mentioned that there are a lot of safe sex products available for university students. Are there any other free products that they might be able to access?
Yeah, well, the major one is the period poverty campaign. So since it's been over a year that we've given out free pads and tampons all across the different campuses. So they were normally just in boxes in different bathrooms, and there's a list on our website. But this year in May, we were super excited to launch vending machines. So we've now got these 4 big vending machines. There's one of them over there if you guys can see that.
Right,
So you can actually take a card and you tap and then you click the free product, pads or tampons, and it comes out. So there's one that's going into the Union Building later this year. There's one at AHMS if you go there.
Right, okay.
Nexus 10, Waite campus and Roseworthy campus. But yeah, I mean, that's just incredible. I wish I had free menstrual products when I was at
me
university.
too.
They're so expensive.
They're so expensive.
They're
And
so
it's a
expensive.
necessity.
Exactly.
It's a
every
necessity.
month. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like we want them to be in even more bathrooms, but obviously that's a big project. But we're taking small steps to get there.
And you'll see them just right up on the wall outside of the bathroom. That is intentional. You know, we know that these could be within a female or gender inclusive bathroom, but they're right on the wall because we aim to break that stigma. It's so normal, and like we know it's uncomfortable to talk about for some people, but it's very common, and we just want to make it very clear that that is something that absolutely is in your right to access. Remove that barrier and just make it something that's part of your everyday.
And I love that it's so subtle in the way it's the messaging itself is so subtle, but it's very clear. And like you mentioned, there might always be an emergency, and your time at uni at campus should not be affected by something that is so normal.
Exactly.
Having to skip class or go home, like it happens.
Exactly.
And it should not happen.
All right, thank you so much for sharing all of that with us. And just to conclude, how do you let me just re-say that. Where is that question? Okay, thank you so much for sharing all of that with us. Just to conclude our interview, what advice would you give to students who are still hesitant to seek help due to stigma or fear of judgment? Thank you so much for sharing that. I just wanted to ask a little bit more about student participation within your service itself.
So we're really proud in Student Health and Wellbeing to say that all of the campaigns, initiatives, programs, etc. that we run are informed by students. So in everything that we do, we'll never miss out on the opportunity to understand the student voice and to hear the concerns of current students so that we're delivering things that are aligned with their need. We're really fortunate to coordinate the Student Wellbeing Advisory Group, which is quite a new version of our volunteer program as of this year, and it was designed to have more meaningful engagement with current students, that we can have space to collaborate and workshop different ideas, whether it's what we give away at an event or what theme we make a month-long or year-long campaign, and that's been amazing. We have about 20 active student volunteers, and we're really proud to have recently this month launched a subcommittee to focus on students with neurodiversities and apply a neurodiversity lens to the project work we do and how to make things not only more inclusive but accessible. And we meet every single month. They're the face of our team. They're at every single event that we do, and they're amongst us always. We're also really fortunate to have a social media team that posts on social media for us and helps get that well-being messaging out there, and also write in our student blog, What Messes With Your Head. So if you ever read our student blog, they're from our fabulous student well-being staff, and they are current students at the university and write about all sorts of things that they're struggling with and ways that they overcame that struggle.
And the swag, which is the volunteer.
It's a short Student Wellbeing Advisory Group, swag. We're
They're
very
so
clever.
cool.
We know.
Love it.
And they're amazing. We just had a lunch with them today to kick off the semester, and it was wholesome.
There was like 20 of us together. But
So
when would the
good.
next intake be for that? Would it be next year?
So we'll be recruiting for the next lot of swag members at the end of this year for next year. So we always usually do it yearly. We just had a small mid-year intake to give students who are passionate about well-being a chance. It's hard for us to say no when we get these inquiries. So this is my fault that the program keeps getting bigger. But at the end of the year, we'll do a whole new intake where we'll put a call out for students who have a genuine interest in supporting student well-being.
I'm already interested.
Okay, I'll remember that.
Join. All right.
Awesome.
Yeah, so just to conclude, what advice would you give to students who are still hesitant to seek help due to stigma or fear of judgment? It's a loaded question.
I don't know. That's such a hard question.
I guess just to continue exploring what works for you and know that we understand that there's such a world of information out there, whether you're absorbing social media content, looking for services on the website, even looking for university support services. It's overwhelming, and we recognize that. And I guess where we come in is just to take your time with it and be kind to yourself. We like to practice self-compassion in everything that we do. And even as staff in the Wellbeing team, we get overwhelmed and are always on the go. And it takes a moment to sit back and recognize what we need right then and there and go from there, one step at a time, one day at a time. You know, there are things that are available to help you, and be patient in finding what that is and what resonates with you and what actually works. And a little bit of trial and error never hurts.
Yeah, well said, Chelsea.
Yeah.
I just think, like, with stigma, you just have to try things for yourself, because if you always listen to other people, you won't try things. And it's so important to make your own decision and then educate your friends, talk to them about it, normalize conversations around periods or condoms or whatever it is. But the university is such a safe place to try things, because we're a university. We're not going to give you crazy risky programs where you could get hurt or they're not good for you. It's definitely a safe space. So yeah, I'd say just sign up to as many things as you can. Take advantage of what you can as a student. Yeah.
And with the services that are here for you, at the end of the day, you're paying for them. And the university does an amazing job at employing the right people. We're surrounded by colleagues who are just as passionate about supporting students and seeing them succeed. And it makes us feel really good when we come to work every day, knowing that there's that meaning and genuinity behind the work that we do. And so for current students listening to this or wherever you might be, just remember there's people that want to help you and that they're there for you. So make sure that you use them and tap into, the things that work for you.
That was so reassuring. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you. Yep. Wow, that was truly so informative. I really had no clue that the university had so many different branches of services and that they had such diverse activities of their own.
We hope you found our chat about student well-being as interesting as we did. Well, that's it for today's episode of Proverbial Perspectives.
And be sure to check out the Student Wellbeing Committee's activities. You can follow them on the links provided.
Also, don't forget to join us next time for more wisdom and fun. Remember, taking care of your mind is just as important as taking care of your body.
Signing off is Yazhini and
Simran.
Bye.